All right, all you free-minded thinkers out there, J.R. Dukes here with you. Appreciate you joining me today. We are going to be looking at a live shot of Congress here in just a second. They are going to take a vote to determine the future of Congressman George Santos. Okay, there you are on the right-hand side of your screen. They're taking care of another piece of business, but they will have the vote very soon. That's what they're scheduled for. Remember, it's going to take quite a bit.
On this vote, the yeas are 221, the nays are 202. There is one voting present. The joint resolution is passed without objection. The motion to consider is laid on the table.
All right, let's listen in for a minute.
Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is the vote on the adoption of House Resolution 878, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. The clerk will report the title of the resolution.
House Resolution 878, resolution providing for the expulsion of Representative George Santos from the United States House of Representatives.
The question is on the adoption of the resolution. Members record their vote by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote.
Okay, the voting has begun for George Santos, whether he will continue to be a member of Congress or not. It is a 5-minute vote, as you just heard the Speaker Pro Tem just say, and we'll see how this goes. Now, it does require a 2/3 majority in order to evict him. Just for clarification and a little history here, Congressman George Santos, he's been charged with, and I want to remind you, charged with, he has not been convicted of anything, but he has been charged with conspiracy, wire fraud, false statements, falsification of records, aggravated identity theft, and credit card fraud. Now, that is directly from the website of the United States Attorney General. The problem here is, first of all, this is a rare thing that you're witnessing right now. I believe it's only happened 9 times prior in U.S. American history, and it's only been successful 5 times. 2 of the times were after a conviction was brought against an individual. In other words, somebody was brought up on a charge. They actually had full due process rights. They were found guilty by a jury of their peers, and then they were expelled. 3 others were from treason. You heard that right, treason. Basically, they were Confederates that fought for the South, and they were rightly so expelled from the Congress. What you're seeing now is an individual that only has charges. He has not been convicted of anything. I will admit, it looks sleazy, it looks bad. Maybe he did it. Maybe there's a great likelihood that he's guilty of what he's charged with. But you also have to remember this. He has not been convicted, and I want to point out something else, too. When they expel him, if they expel him, you know, it's not without problems. First of all, the Republicans only have a 4-seat majority in the House of Representatives right now. So if you can imagine that, 4 seats, if they get rid of him, they're down to 3 seats. Not a good thing. Also, they're concerned about the precedent this may set. Anytime someone has an accusation brought against them, do they just throw them out? Also, there's definitely a 2-tier type of justice going on here, if you want to call it that. Remember, it's only been a little while back. You had Democratic Representative Jamal Bowman in New York, a Democrat. He is the gentleman who decided he'd go ahead and pull the fire alarm. He claims that he was trying to get outside. He pulled the fire alarm. In all likelihood, he pulled the fire alarm to try to disrupt Congress. He did not like the way a particular vote was going, so he went ahead and set off the fire alarm. Well, it's just crazy. Can you imagine that? Imagine he disrupts Congress. You have 120, 140 people currently serving time for the January 6th insurrection, the January 6th nonsense. 120 to 140 people currently in jail. This individual, Representative Jamal Brown, only ended up with a misdemeanor crime, misdemeanor, not felony, and he paid a fine, and that was the end of that. Unfortunately for Mr. Santos, they are going to take out a bigger club. And by the way, this is the 3rd vote to expel him. So we'll have to see how this goes. It does take a 2/3 vote. Let me see if they have enough as of right now. I also want to mention, too, over on the Senate side, you have another problem going on right there, and this individual is still serving. He has not been removed or expelled, and that's U.S. Senator Robert Menendez from New Jersey, longtime sitting senator, and he's been accused of all types of different crimes, including bribery. I believe what I've heard is that he's also accused of giving secrets or something that effect to the government of Egypt, yet he's still in the Senate. Again, George Santos about to be expelled from Congress, which will narrow the Republicans' lead even more, and he's only facing allegations at this point. To me, it's not right. It's not even-handed. Tell me what you think about it. I'd like to have a conversation with you about it. Put it down in the comments below and let me know what you think. We'll see shortly exactly what is going to happen here. Remember, I believe it's a 2/3 vote. You only have about 20-some seconds left. Let's see exactly what these tallies are right here. It's going to be close, whatever it is. Got 293 yeas, 114 nays, and 28 people no votes, which basically means they're just voting present. We're going to know here in just a minute, so stay tuned and we'll see exactly what the totals say. All right, the voting has ended. And I'm sure, yeah, you got one person voted present. You got 19 no votes, 300 yays. I don't know if that's 2/3 or not. What is there, 400 and some odd representatives? I'm trying to remember back from school here. And basically you got to have 2/3. I think that's 66%. 287. Looks like they got the votes, if my math is right, but let's see. Looks like he's going to be expelled. That would be my guess. Let's continue to monitor the situation, see where it goes. But I think that's what's going to happen. Yeah, it looks like he's likely to be expelled. There's no guarantee on this, but we will continue to monitor it and see. Looks like they might have the votes. Again, I think this sets a terrible precedent. You don't want to be evicting people just because they've been brought up on charges. And again, this is a very rare thing in American history. If he is removed, he will only be the sixth. Only the sixth person removed from Congress, which is a very short list. You definitely don't want to be on that list. He will be the first person expelled from Congress that has not been convicted of a crime. The first person that has not been accused of or found guilty of committing treason or some other serious violent crime. Again, no conviction, just essentially allegations at this point. And then, of course, there was that report that the committee, one of those House committees, came out with that was rather scathing against George Santos. But again, that's not a court of law per se. Under the 7th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, we all have the right, under the Constitution, to have a trial by jury before we lose our life, liberty, whatever, before we lose money, before we lose our seat in Congress. The representatives that represent us were duly elected. George Santos is no different. He was elected by the people in his district. Some would argue he committed fraud during that election and lied to people, but I would also push back and say that a lot of people lie. If we throw out every politician that lies, we wouldn't have any. All right, here they go. They're talking now, so let's listen in.
On this vote, the yeas are 311, the nays are 114. with 2 recorded as present. 2/3 voting in the affirmative, the resolution is adopted, and a
Okay, he
motion
is
to
expelled.
reconsider is laid upon the table. The clerk will notify the governor of the state of New York of the action of the House. Under Clause 5D of Rule 20, the chair announces to the House that in light of the expulsion of the gentleman from New York, Mr. Santos, the whole number of the House is now 434.
All right. I think that's pretty well all they need to do to expel him, which they just did in the House of Representatives. So this is a historic day, a historic vote. Once again, I can confirm that Congressman George Santos of New York has been expelled from the House of Representatives, only the 6th individual in U.S. history. 2/3 vote was reached, and unfortunately for Santos, he's gone. I personally think this is a sad day for America. It sets a terrible precedent. You had the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and I believe the Majority Whip also voting in the negative, voting nay. They did not want to set this type of precedent, and unfortunately, all the Democrats apparently have voted to oust him, and it only takes half or so of the Republicans to join in to actually remove him from office. Now the lead that the Republicans had of only 4 seats is now down to 3. We'll have to see where this goes. Personally, I think it's just not a good thing. They should not have done this. Let me know what you think. If you agree, disagree, put them down in the comments below. Of course, this recording will be ready for anybody that wants to watch it again or watch it later. I appreciate you joining me. As I always say, be sure to like, subscribe, comment. If you hit that subscribe button, it brings you 10 years of good luck. That's right, 10 years of good luck. So why not take a chance and see how it works for you? At any rate, keep that mind free and never give up. I am J.R. Dukes.